Good evening. I trust you're doing well tonight. We have a lot in store for you, including a conversation on devolution, rethinking devolution, and we have some pertinent questions to ask. But before that, we have traversed the corners of this country and across the region to bring you the latest news from the land. And to have an idea of what that looks like, let's take a look at the highlights. Tonight, Bomet Governor Hilary Barchok, who is facing allegations of conflict of interest and money laundering, released on a 5 million shilling bail. Former Bungoma Governor Wycliffe Wangamati also arraigned and released on a 1.5 million shilling cash bail. Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale meets the Council of Governors to discuss transitioning universal health coverage staff into permanent and pensionable roles. And Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja finds relief after President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga intervened on his behalf, thwarting an attempt by ward representatives to remove him from office. Like we say, all that and so much more we have in store for you tonight. My name is Victor Muyakane, and on sign language tonight is none other than Catherine Simaloy. We go straight to the news, and Bomet Governor Hilary Barchok and former Bungoma Governor Wycliffe Wangamati have secured temporary freedom after pleading not guilty to corruption charges in court. The two leaders, alongside their co-accused, were released on varying bail terms, with Barchok posting 5 million shillings in cash bail, while Wangamati walked free on a 1.5 million shilling cash bail. The court, however, imposed strict conditions, including the surrender of their passports and a ban on making public comments about the ongoing cases, pending their next hearings. Sheila Chalangant starts us off with this story.
Wycliffe Wangamati, former governor of Bungoma County, appeared before Principal Magistrate Zipporah Gishana Tuesday morning. Alongside his co-accused in the graft case, charged with 27 counts of conflict of interest and fraudulent financial dealings. They are linked to the embezzlement of over 70 million shillings through tenders awarded during his tenure as Bungoma governor. Investigations suggest funds were diverted through companies connected to him and close associates.
For sure, Mr. Monda, that we are really in for a good trial.
And in court today, they all pleaded not guilty to the charges read to them, and they all took a sigh of relief after being released on bond with alternatives of cash bail. Wangamati released on a 5 million shillings bond or an alternative of 1.5 million shillings.
These terms also apply to the accused number 6 and 7.
In the afternoon, Bomet Governor Hilary Barchok and co-accused Evans Kipkoech took to the dock. Barchok accused of conflict of interest and unlawful acquisition of public property. Barchok is accused of irregularly benefiting from contracts awarded by the Bomet County government to Chemamus Construction Limited, a company allegedly linked to him. He is further accused of knowingly acquiring 2 million shillings from contracts related to routine road maintenance and the hire of construction equipment. And as to the 7 counts read to them, they pleaded not guilty and were released on bond and bail terms.
The first accused may be released on a bond of 15 million in the alternative to a cash bail of 5 million. The second accused may be admitted to a bond of 5 million in the alternative to a cash bail of 2 million.
All the accused were directed to deposit their passports in court within 7 days and should not leave the country without prior court approval.
Accused are hereby notified that breaches of any of the foregoing conditions shall attract legal consequences, including but not limited to cancellation of the bond or bail terms.
All the accused in these cases have been directed not to comment on the case or interfere with witnesses, even as they are slated for mention on the 17th and 18th of September this year. Sheila Chelangat for TV47 at the Milimani Law Courts in Nairobi.
All right, now a fresh battle is brewing over Nairobi's iconic Karura forest. The Friends of Karura group has moved to the Environment and Land Court, challenging a Kenya Forest Service directive that makes e-Citizen the only payment channel for entry fees. The conservationists argue that the sudden shift was done without consultation and has left the forest with no clear system to pay salaries, bills, or even to maintain services. They say that silence from KFS undermines the spirit of partnership in managing the treasured public space. The case will be heard on September 22nd as the debate over Karura's future deepens.
Karura forest evokes very serious emotions. Our late sister, Professor Wangari Maathai, suffered because of Karura forest. What is happening there is completely, and they must stop the nonsense. And they want to build a road through Karura. Kenyans have now developed a habit of going for early morning runs and walks. Please stop Karura. Don't deal with Karura forest.
Now, the opposition has renewed its attacks on President William Ruto's administration, accusing it of breeding corruption and failing to safeguard national security. Speaking in Nairobi, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka faulted the government over graft claims at the Social Health Authority and criticized its silence on reports of the Jubaland forces invading Mandera. Joined by other opposition principals, including former DP Rigathi Gachagua, Kalonzo vowed to hold perpetrators accountable should they ascend to power in 2027. Joa Shunsari with more.
Wiper Patriotic Front leader Kalonzo Musyoka has launched a scathing attack on President William Ruto's administration, accusing it of perpetuating corruption and failing to provide services to Kenyans.
Mr. Ruto, please stop playing with Kenya's future.
Speaking at a meeting with Wiper Party officials at his current office, Kalonzo criticized the government over scandals in various sectors, including the Social Health Authority, claiming that such scandals are draining public resources and crippling vital services in the education and health sectors.
As the government in waiting, we will insist on the perpetrators being tried for crimes against humanity. This road is not just limited to the healthcare sector. The e-Citizen government platform for handling public funds is a haste.
Kalonzo also criticized the government's silence over reports of Jubaland troops invading Mandera and called on President Ruto to act immediately to safeguard national security.
We really want to call on the Commander-in-Chief, who is William Ruto himself, to explain the situation. You should not send Duale.
Meanwhile, the Democracy for the Citizens Party, DCP, led by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, unveiled Simon Sanare Saidimo as its candidate for the upcoming Purko Ward by-election in Kajiado County, slated for 27th of November 2025.
Kiti itakuja kwa chama ya DCP na kwa neema ya Mungu kiti itakuja pande hii.
Speaking during the unveiling, Gachagua expressed confidence in Sanare's leadership, stating that he understands the needs of the people and is well placed to champion their rights.
Na hii uchaguzi ndio matayarisho yetu pia ya DCP kuja kunyakua hiyo kiti ya Kajiado Central katika uchaguzi mkuu ujao, na pia ni matayarisho ya kuja kunyakua viti yote ya women rep, ya senator na ya governor katika Kajiado County.
And as the 2027 general election nears, Gachagua and Kalonzo have assured their supporters' commitment to doing everything necessary to secure victory in the upcoming elections, urging all Kenyans of legal age to get their identity cards and register as voters.
The young Kenyans who have now attained the age of majority, a lot of them, we know there's an attempt to deny you IDs. We will not allow that to happen. Take out the IDs, register, drive home this regime. Wiper.
One time, Komboa Kenya.
Joash Onsare, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, questions are being raised over the accuracy of the Ministry of Health's list of facilities implicated in the alleged fraud. A TV47 spot check has revealed that some of the hospitals flagged for investigation closed years ago, while others continue to operate despite their licenses being revoked. This comes just a day after the ministry handed the list to the DCI for a probe. Elizabeth Atieno tells us more.
This is the Medifort Hospital Clinic in Nyamira County. The hospital structure is still intact, but there is no activity taking place here. No patients, no hospital equipment. These oxygen cylinders have been lying here for years, a clear indication that the facility is not operational. The hospital is among those listed by the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council as among facilities whose operating licenses have been revoked. The hospital management has strongly refuted claims that the hospital was closed down for taking part in fraudulent activities at the Social Health Authority, maintaining that it ceased operations 3 years ago, although other branches of the facility are still up and running.
I want to clarify that the clinic in question was actually closed by Medford Hospital Management due to an unsustainability noted by SAR. At Medford Hospital, we prioritize integrity in all our operations.
After a quick search into what the facility has received from the Social Health Authority, we established that in August, the hospital received 1.4 million from the authority, and in May, the hospital received an almost similar amount, an amount the facility says was channeled to its other branches that are still operational.
We have the registration number and everything, but it has not been operational since that time. Now, that was just a registration, even renewal of the license we have not done. And when this interest come again, we can take it up.
This is the LVCT Center in Kisii County. This facility was also listed in the Gazette notice as among the facilities whose licenses have been revoked, but the facility is still up and running. Furthermore, TV47 has established that it is not a hospital as it only offers HIV and AIDS training services. Then we head to the Galaxy Medicare Center in Kisii County. The hospital is still operational. This despite it being listed among the facilities whose licenses have been revoked. This raises the question, is it a blatant disregard for the rule of law? Or were the operating licenses of some facilities unfairly revoked? Some of the counties whose health facilities have been worst hit by the revocation include Mandera, Homa Bay, Kisii, Nairobi, Wajir, and Nyamira. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47.
Now, still on matters health, President William Ruto has announced that the government will shoulder the cost of Social Health Authority contributions for 1.5 million Kenyans who are unable to afford the scheme. He said that payment mechanisms will roll out from next week following the conclusion of a nationwide identification process. The president emphasized that revenue collected by the state is sufficient to cushion the vulnerable as more Kenyans transition from NHIF to SHA. Our reporter Linda Alela has the details.
The government has announced that the newly established Social Health Authority, SHA, created to address the long-standing shortcomings of the National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF, particularly its failures to support the poor, is now close to realizing that goal. Although the transition has encountered challenges, including a significant backlog of unpaid claims from both SHA and NHIF, President William Ruto maintains that the government is collecting sufficient funds to cover healthcare costs for Kenyans who cannot afford to pay into the scheme.
I am going to pay for $1.5 million as national government. Mimi nataka governors walipie another maybe 1 million. Hao wabunge, every MP hako na pesa anaweza kulipia wale watu maskini katika constituency yake. So that we can...
According to the president, out of the registered 25.8 million Kenyans, those who have the ability to pay are contributing 2.75% of their income, making the scheme equitable. This, as the president says, the payment mechanisms will begin next week following the completion of a successful identification process.
Kama ni mtu ya kulazwa, ile bill ambaye angelipa shilingi 20,000, 30,000, 100,000, 1,200. Akilipa tu contribution yake ya SHA, which is less than, in many cases, less than 5,000. Anatibiwa for the whole year, yeye, familia yake.
This initiative is targeted at ensuring no Kenyan is left behind in the rollout of universal health coverage.
Sisi tulia na mshahara kubwa, mimi nalipa 40 every month, 40,000. Nilikuwa nalipa 1,000. Because it was not fair.
While criticizing the defunct NHIF system, President Ruto has increasingly praised the ability of SHA to strengthen the health sector of the country. What is left is to see if the identification process will meet the criteria that will facilitate the work of the government and ensure that eligible Kenyans benefit. For TV47, I'm Linda Alela.
Now, a standoff is simmering between the county governments and the national administration over the future of universal healthcare workers. The Council of Governors has rejected a Ministry of Health proposal to absorb the workers under a one-year funding plan, insisting that the arrangement is unsustainable without adequate resources. The dispute emerged after a meeting between governors and Health CS Aden Duale earlier today. This report has been prepared by Suleiman Fatime.
A standoff continues between the Council of Governors and the Ministry of Health over the employment terms of universal health coverage staff, as the ministry is pushing for the COG to approve a proposal that would see UHC staff employed on permanent and pensionable terms, but only for a one-year funding period.
It was on the UHC whole ecosystem. We have agreed, we have gone very far with the validation. We just need to do check a small number of 62 with the barriers.
Tensions flared today during a high-level meeting between the governors and the Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale, as governors rejected the ministry's plan, insisting they cannot take on the responsibility of absorbing UHC workers without assurance of sustainable funding. The governors arguing that the UHC staff, numbering over 7,000, have yet to undergo a verification process, and further claimed they were not consulted on the employment transition.
We transition them to permanent and pensionable if the 7.7 billion to maintain them on permanent and pensionable in perpetuity is included in the next DORA.
Previously, governors had proposed that the ministry first disburse the necessary funds, after which the process of transitioning UHC staff could then begin. However, this position has been met with strong opposition from UHC workers, who argue that under the Constitution, functions must be devolved first, followed by the allocation of resources, not the other way round.
Waziri akuwe majo na hawa jamaa. They want to convert, to employ their relatives, to shortchange this UHC staff, and we are not going to allow that.
Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has narrowly escaped impeachment after President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga intervened to calm political tensions at City Hall. In separate meetings, Ruto with UDA MCs at State House and Odinga with ODM MCAs at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Foundation, the two leaders urged ward representatives to drop the motion and instead prioritize dialogue and service delivery. The governor, who has been given a 1-month ultimatum to address pressing demands on bursaries, ward funds and roads, publicly apologized to the assembly members, pledging to mend relations. Apollo Kamau reports.
Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja bounced back from an impeachment threat by members of the Nairobi County Assembly after President William Ruto and ODM party leader Raila Odinga closed ranks to save the governor from the impeachment gallows. During Wednesday's two high-level meetings to save the governor, President William Ruto led UDA MCAs at State House, where he pleaded with them to give him 2 months to address their grievances, while Odinga hosted ODM MCAs and a section of MPs at the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Center in Upper Hill, where Sakaja was given 1 month to address the MCA's grievances.
Na sasa tumekubaliana gavana endelee na kazi na vile vile ajumuike na akapewa pia marekebisho ambayo anafaa kufanya katika uongozi wake katika kaunti ya Nairobi. Kwa hivyo yale mazungumzo yamezungumzwa na imekuwa kwa wazi, na nataka kumshukuru kiongozi wetu bwana Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga kwa kuweza kukutanisha MCAs wote wa Azimio, na wote wameongea kwa kauli moja na wamekubaliana.
At the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Center, the charged MCAs are said to have ventilated their grievances against the governor, who apologized to the MCAs in a meeting also attended by veteran politician Fred Gumo.
Wamepewa nafasi ya kuzungumza, nafasi ya kutoa malalamiko yao, na pia governor ametoa malalamiko yake, na vile vile akaomba msamaha kwa wale MCAs wote, na tumekubaliana kwa muda wa mwezi moja yale marekebisho yao yamefanywa. Governor Sakaja is expected in State House on Wednesday in a meeting with UDA MCAs and President Ruto, amid a warning from MCAs that the impeachment may make a comeback if he does not implement their demands within the agreed time frame. The most notable demands being the county bursary scheme, the ward fund, and road construction in the wards. Akirudia hayo makosa, sasa atabeba mzigo wake mwenyewe, lakini amekubali kurekebika na amekubali kurekebisha na amekubali pia yale yameambiwa, kwa sababu kitu kubwa ni maendeleo, na maendeleo kama ufanyii watu wako, na Nairobi ikiwa capital city inaangaziwa sana.
Yet another political lifeline for Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja, courtesy of the broad-based government. His survival, though, has put him on trial on his relationship with MCAs and Nairobians ahead of the 2027 poll. Apollo Kamau, TV47 in Nairobi.
Thank you, Apollo. Now, residents of Kenyatta Estate in Njoro in Nakuru County have issued a 7-day ultimatum to the government to address escalating cases of killings and sexual violence in the area. 4 bodies have been recovered from River Ndarugu in just 2 months, sparking outrage and fear among locals. The residents are threatening mass protests if action is not taken, even as former DP Rigathi Gachagua urged elders from the Maasai and Kikuyu communities to unite in the pursuit of peace along the Mau-Narok border.
Over the last 2 months, Kenyatta residents in Njoro have retrieved 4 bodies from this river, 3 women and 1 man. The incident has forced villagers in Kenyatta to clear bushes along the river banks, hoping the move will help reduce incidents of rape, defilement and killings that have plagued the area.
These cases, they are associated with murder, raping of our women.
Na tunasikia vibaya sana. Kama mama mchanga hivyo ameacha mtoto wa grade 1, atauawa ambaye alikuwa hasora akitafutia watoto wake. Tunasikia vibaya sana.
Frustrated and unsure who is behind the killings, the locals accuse security agencies of laxity, saying suspects handed over to the police are often released. They are now demanding the closure of the nearby Sunrise police post, citing alleged negligence by officers stationed there.
Tuna police post hapa ni kama
mita 200 hapa, lakini wako usingizi, hakuna kitu wanafanya.
Tumewapea ultimatum ya 7 days. Mambo ya security hapa tunataka ibadilishwe with immediate effect.
The wave of insecurity has left residents living in fear, many confining themselves indoors early in the evening while worrying about the safety of their children who leave for school at dawn.
Saa hii hakuna watu wanapita hapa usiku kwa uoga. Unakuta hata wamama wanagojeana mahali pale ndio waweze kukuja, na wanakuja wakikibia bio.
Tuna watoto wetu wanaenda shule na wetu wanaendaga Njoro, na sasa tumekatisha masomo yao ya asubuhi kwa sababu ya wakora.
Residents have also voiced frustrations with local women leaders, accusing them of ignoring the alarming rise in rape and killings, despite the fact that women remain the most affected by this violence.
Pikia Susan Keheka umwambie, juzi tulisikia alienda ng'ambo kujifungulia huko, asave mtoto wake. Sisi tuna watoto wengi sana hapa ambao tuna save, hatujamuona, tuna uchungu. Mjue tu mtatukuta hapa, ni less than 2 years.
Meanwhile, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has called for the involvement of Maasai and Kikuyu elders to help end the recurring conflict between the two communities along the Mau Narok border.
Sisi watu ya Mlima na watu ya Maa ni mashemeji, na hatuna shida yeyote kati ya jamii zote mbili. Na tumeongea na Bwana Kamwaro na wazee wa Kikuyu pale, waketishe wazee, hilo ni jambo kidogo, itatuliwe, watu waishi kwa amani.
Joash Onsare, TV47.
Controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie now claims his life is under threat. Appearing at the Tononoka Law Courts in Mombasa, Mackenzie alleged that he discovered suspected poison inside his prison cell at Shimulatewa last Friday, shortly after a court session, he says. He told the court that he has not eaten since the incident, as prison authorities come under pressure to account for his safety. Take a look.
Speaking through his lawyer Lawrence Obonyo, embattled preacher Paul Mackenzie said that after last week's Friday court session, he returned to his cell in Shimulatewa and found strange substances where his food is usually placed, an incident that left him fearing for his life.
He found ground bottles and he found whitish substance in the water that he was drinking that he had left at his cell.
Since then, he says he has refused to eat, claiming that government officials are plotting to kill him and have already predetermined the outcome of his case.
Of course, we must understand this is within the backdrop of what was said by the Cabinet Secretary of Interior, whereby he was pushing for more strict solitary confinement regulations, especially with our clients. Speculation creates bad blood, and it also creates a bad notion, and it spoils and taints the minds of the people handling this matter.
The claims disrupted today's hearing at the Tononoka Law Courts. Magistrate Nelly Chepchirchir being forced to buy Mackenzie milk and bread in an effort to stabilize his condition ahead of the proceedings. She later directed that court officials will be providing his meals for the remainder of the trial.
The client has been very categorical. If anyone wants to kill him, then let them wait for the right opportunity, not when we are in court and not trying to use those underhand opportunities. Let them be clear and let them wait for this process to end, so that the judiciary can get it off its hands and then they can now take another angle.
The case was adjourned to tomorrow, when the officer in charge of Shimulatewa prison is expected to appear in court to respond to allegations. Meanwhile, Mackenzie's lawyer has been instructed to formally lodge a complaint over what he terms as violation of his client's rights. Kinto Wafula, TV47, Mombasa.
Parliament's Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee has summoned Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja to appear on September the 6th amid an escalating supremacy battle between the National Police Service and the National Police Service Commission. As Samira Mohammed reports, the Commission's Chief Executive Peter Lilley has accused Kanja of deliberately creating bottlenecks to frustrate the Commission's mandate, deepening tensions at the heart of the police service.
at the center of the dispute between the National Police Service Commission and the National Police Service. A battle over control of payroll and human resource functions within the National Police Service.
The issue of management of HR-related aspects of the police service, including the payroll. We think that this issue needs to be resolved quickly because it is causing a lot of anxiety within the rank and file of the police service.
And today, Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja has been summoned by the National Assembly's Constitutional Implementation Oversight Committee to answer questions over the standoff between his office and the National Police Service Commission.
You remember this committee has struggled to meet the Inspector General of Police in the past, not this particular Inspector General, but the previous holder of the office. Consequently, the members have resolved to issue summons to the Inspector General of Police to appear before this committee in person on 16th of September 2025 at 10 a.m.
The summons came amid Kanja's alleged failure to appear before a session with the committee on Tuesday noon, prompting concern from the lawmakers over what they describe as deliberate efforts to undermine the National Police Service Commission's operations.
All the security organs are subject to civilian authority. That's what our Constitution says. So if you don't want to submit to civilian authority, then you better go somewhere else.
Chairperson observed that members of the National Police Service who sit in the commission consistently fail to attend meetings, thereby denying the committee the quorum required to conduct its business, further accusing Kanja of attempting to sabotage the operations of the National Police Service Commission, an action which they say was violation of Article 248 of the Constitution. Samira Mohammed for TV47, Nairobi.
A deadly quarrel over hostel washroom cleaning has ended in tragedy at the University of Nairobi's Kikuyu campus. A third-year student, Brian Wamboi, was allegedly stabbed to death by his roommate, Justice Otieno, following a heated argument that spiraled out of control. Police say Otieno briefly left the room only to return armed with a knife, which he used to fatally attack Wamboi. The victim was rushed to Kikuyu Hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. The suspect is now in custody at Kikuyu Police Station as investigations continue.
The cause of the quarrel, we find that there was a disagreement between the victim and the suspect over issues to deal with the ablution block. And then the disagreement escalated and other friends of the deceased joined in, and that is when the suspect maybe dashed to the house to get a weapon to defend himself. We took up the matter, the police and the DCI and the members of the community worked together. The investigations were carried out. We were able to apprehend the suspect. The suspected murder weapon was secured, and today the suspect has been arraigned to court. We are seeking custodial orders so that we can further the investigations.
All right, now folks, this is the point in our conversation where we want to take a bit of a break to look at something that is very, very important to all of us, the matter of devolution. But now, before we take this break, I would like to put it out to you that this is a conversation that we want you to be involved in. And so please reach us through the SMS line on your screen. Our producers will also put up the WhatsApp number. And we're going to be able to put up a question using a QR code, and please scan and let us know what you think. If you're watching us on YouTube, the chat is open. Send your questions or your comments and I'll be able to sample them live and direct. We will be right back after these messages.
This is Kenya's #1 talk show, Dr. Foreke tonight. My name is the Eagle himself. Dr. Foreke is my name.
We are flipping the script, but guess what? Or should I say, guess who is taking over tonight's show?
Anyway, furahia umekaa na kasipuni. CP unit ni Punet.
Ni Punet.
Punet.
So you guys knew about...
Piga.
Sawa basi. Sema, that I'm giving the whole time.
I don't want to go back to brokenness.
Never.
I just love the high life. Siwezi taka kuimagine ati nimesota.
You'll have to watch to find out. Tune in every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m.
All right, time now for some business news, and the stage is set ahead of the fifth leg of the Sunshine Development Tour. East Africa's swing, which is actually, I beg your pardon, this is not business news, I beg your pardon, this is actually sports news, but let's go back to business and to have a look at what's happening. And we start with the matter of affordable housing. And the government has set aside 27 billion shillings to strengthen the role of local engineers, contractors and suppliers in the affordable housing program. Now, the Affordable Housing Board Chair, Jeremiah Simu, says that this move is aimed at attracting more domestic partners to the sector. Kenya faces an annual housing deficit of at least 200,000 units, but developers have decried delayed government payments and stiff competition from foreign firms as a big problem. Meanwhile, the Kenya Private Developers Association and the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry have signed an MOU to unlock private capital with fresh calls for lower credit costs.
Joining forces, KPDA and Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and KNCCI are sending a powerful message that Kenya's entrepreneurs, developers and business leaders are ready to stand shoulder to shoulder with government in delivering decent, affordable, dignified homes.
It means a stronger, unified voice. We will speak with one coherent voice to government on the issues that matter, from streamlining approval processes, advocating for consistent policies, and creating a stable environment that attracts investment. We will move from fragmented requests to coordinated advocacy.
There's now a manufacturing value chain that I think is going to be developed, and we want to see how to work together.
Kenya's coffee sector is facing fresh turmoil as cooperative societies from Bomet, Jericho, Kericho, beg your pardon, Baringo, Nyeri, Kisii and Kirinyaga, as well as Makueni, Pokot and Machakos, threaten to pull out of the National Coffee Exchange. The farmers accuse the exchange and the government of colluding to impose the controversial direct settlement system, which they say undermines their interests. NACCU Chairman Felix Mwai also warned that farmers may withdraw their accounts from the cooperative bank over its role in implementing the system. Officials are now calling on the president to engage farmers directly as a case challenging DSS continues in court.
It is cooperative
which assist the farmers to produce what they produce. If you kill cooperatives, you kill Kenya coffee. It should be noted, the Kenya coffee is 70% owned by cooperatives. So if you distort cooperatives and the way they work, it means that you are jeopardizing the 70% of national production.
Call the original coffee farmers from the society's level. Yes. Don't be cheated by technocrats. Yes. Professor Kia does not have a single tree of coffee. They do not own coffee. Call the owners of coffee and hear their cry.
Society inasaidia wakulima kupea pesa wakati wajafuna kahawa. Na kahawa yetu inakaanga kwa shamba for 6 months. Hakuna payment yenye inafanyika kwa sababu kahawa ijaiva. Na tunataka kahawa ilipwe mara 2 ama mara 1 kwa pesa ambayo inastahili, sio pesa kidogo kidogo ya mwezi moja.
Kenya's agriculture sector grew by 6% in the first half of this year, lifted by favorable rains and improved dairy production. Milk deliveries jumped 14.5% to 250.6 million litres, while food prices eased on account of seasonal harvests. The 2025 Agriculture Sector Survey shows growing farmer confidence, with more than 80% expecting steady or better performance, supported by subsidised fertiliser, improved credit access and irrigation. Now, the Gambia are in Nairobi preparing for their FIFA World Cup qualifier against Harambee Stars this Friday at the Moi International Stadium, Kasarani. The Scorpions, as they're known, currently on 4 points, trail group leaders Côte d'Ivoire by 12 and they sit 11 behind second-placed Gabon. They are led by former Gor Mahia coach Jonathan McKenzie, who signed a 2-year deal in 2024 after delivering back-to-back league titles for the Kenyan champions.
It's very important. It's an important game for Gambia because although it's going to be a difficult one because Kenya have the home advantage, as I said earlier, and they have their home fans and stuff like that. But it's not going to be easy. We know that, and we need to be prepared for the game. Most important thing is like you have to focus and then train hard. It's not easy to get in the Premier League. Although when you look like 3-4 years ago, I was in Gambia, but now I'm playing in the top level, which is not easy. The journey was really hard. But for me, all I do is like I focus on God first, and then second is training and to listen to your coaches and then know what to do.
Yeah, look, it's always nice to come back, but ultimately we're here for business. You know, for me, we can enjoy it afterwards. The aim is to try and collect 3 points. We know that's not going to be easy because we expect there to be a very sort of hostile environment. The Kenyan supporters will come out in their tens of thousands to support the Harambee Stars. We've seen that through the Chan tournament, you know, very well supported games here at Kasarani. Obviously, Kasarani holds lots of good memories for me. I think my own last 2 games here were trophy winning games in terms of the Charity Shield and the final of the league a couple of years ago. So, but all of that doesn't count for anything. We've got to go on and put a performance and look to try and win the game.
Harambee Stars head coach Benny McCarthy has been crowned the Sports Journalist Association of Kenya's Coach of the Month for August. The South African tactician becomes only the 3rd foreign coach to win the award. This is after guiding Kenya to a historic quarter-final finish at the Africa Nations Championships. And now to golf, where the stage is set ahead of the 5th leg of the Sunshine Development Tour, East Africa Swing, which tees off tomorrow at the Kigali Golf Resort and Villas. The 3-day Sports Biz Africa Golf Championship is a 54-hole stroke play tournament that has attracted 121 professional and elite amateur golfers from 16 countries in Africa, Europe and North America. It will feature 25,000 USD as a prize purse, with all participants keen on gaining valuable official world golf ranking points and world amateur golf ranking points. Kenya's fast-rising star, Njoroge Kibugu, fresh off from winning the Ruiru leg of this tour, is a key contender for the tournament and will be hoping to show his class in Kigali.